What's up? This is Tim with Tactics Boardshop, and today I'm going to explain the differences between the 4 stances in skateboarding. Your natural stance, nollie, switch, and fakie. The most important thing to remember with stances is that they are relative to each skater's instinctual footing. Regular footed is when somebody's primary footing is left foot in front and right foot in the back to push. Goofy footed is when someone's primary footing is the opposite, with their right foot forward and their left foot in the back. If you don't know if you're regular or goofy footed, check out our How to Skate Basics video for a tutorial on how to figure out your footing. For the sake of this video, I'm going to use the term natural stance to refer to your most used and most comfortable stance, whether you're regular or goofy footed. Any trick that is done with your native footing will be in your natural stance. For example, I'm regular footed, so if I do an ollie where I'm leading with my left foot and my right foot is on the tail, that would be a natural stance ollie. And if a goofy person did an ollie leading with their right foot and their left foot on the tail, that would still be a natural stance ollie because the stance is relative to their instinctive footing. You can leave off the stance for any trick in your natural stance because it's implied unless you specify with a different stance first. So if you just say kickflip, skaters will know that it's just a kickflip with their natural footing. Nollie stance is when you're riding with your primary foot forward, but your feet are shifted to the front of the board with your front foot on the nose. The word nollie is literally short for nose ollie. Riding nollie should feel comfortable because your feet and body are still facing the same direction as your natural stance. Switch stance is when you ride opposite of your native footing. It's similar to riding with your opposite hand or kicking a ball with your non-dominant foot. For example, since I'm regular footed, when I skate leading and pushing with the opposite feet, my right foot forward and my left foot in the back, I'm riding switch. It wouldn't be called riding goofy because it's relative to my regular footing. So if a goofy skater rode opposite of their natural footing, it would also be called switch. Fakie stance is when you're riding switch and your feet are shifted to the front kick. It's kind of like natural stance in reverse. You could also think of fakie as the nollie of switch. For tricks that are in stances other than natural, you need to add the stance of the trick before the trick name. For example, the kickflips in all 4 stances would be kickflip, nollie kickflip, switch kickflip, and fakie kickflip. This applies to every trick in a stance other than your natural stance. In order to properly identify the stance of a trick, you need to know that specific skater's footing. The untrained eye often can't see the difference between the stances, but there are some clues that indicate the stance of a trick, especially for switch and fakie. Many times, skaters who are doing switch or fakie tricks have their shoulders slightly closed off or backwards, and it doesn't look quite as innate as your natural or nollie stances. In this clip, look at his shoulders while he's rolling up. He's kind of closed off and angled backwards. This is an indication that he's rolling up in switch stance. Now that you can tell it's switch, you can discern he's regular footed, and now you'll be able to identify the stances of all the tricks that he does from now on. Some skaters are so good in every stance that it's hard to tell what footing they are because all of their tricks look so natural. And not being able to figure out someone's footing makes it hard to know what stance a trick was. If you're playing skate with someone, be sure to figure out what footing they are first so you can know which stances they're doing their tricks in. If they did a trick and you're not sure which stance it was, don't be afraid to ask what stance it was, because generally skaters are pretty understanding.
Yo, is that fakie? Ah, it was nollie.
It takes a lot of practice to be able to immediately identify the stance of a trick, but after doing and watching a lot of skating, it will become automatic. I know this can kind of be a confusing topic, but I hope this helped clear things up a little bit. If you got any questions or tips of your own about how to identify switch stance tricks, just leave them in the comments down below, and have fun learning all the stances. Peace.